How Brother Lawrence Found God in Everyday Life. What if finding spiritual peace did not require escaping from ordinary life? What if the moments that seem least spiritual, such as washing dishes, preparing food, repairing something, travelling to work, or completing a tiring responsibility, could become part of a life of prayer? This is the central message of the practice of the presence of God, a collection of conversations and letters connected with Brother Lawrence, a 17th-century Carmelite lay brother. His teaching was not built around complicated theories. It emerged from an ordinary life filled with work, physical difficulty, distraction, uncertainty, and the repeated effort to return his attention to God. Brother Lawrence was born Nicholas Herman in Lorraine, in what is now northeastern France, around the year 1611. Before entering religious life, he served as a soldier and later worked as a servant. His early life was not peaceful or protected. He lived during a time of war, experienced hardship, and suffered an injury that affected him for the rest of his life. According to the accounts associated with him, an important spiritual awakening began when he was a young man. During winter, he looked at a tree that had lost all its leaves. The tree appeared lifeless, but he understood that spring would return. New leaves would grow, followed by flowers and fruit. This simple observation awakened in him a powerful sense of God's providence and care. The experience did not give Brother Lawrence a complete spiritual system. It gave him a direction. He became convinced that God was present and active, even when life appeared empty or dormant. Just as the bare tree contained the promise of renewal, a human life could be transformed through faith, patience, and love. Eventually, Brother Lawrence entered a Carmelite monastery in Paris as a lay brother. Because he was not a priest or scholar, much of his life was devoted to practical work. He was assigned to the monastery kitchen, where he prepared meals and served a large religious community. This was not an ideal setting for quiet contemplation. A kitchen can be hot, noisy, repetitive, and demanding. Several tasks require attention at the same time. People need things urgently. Mistakes are immediately visible. Brother Lawrence did not naturally enjoy this work, but the kitchen became the place where his spiritual practice matured. Instead of treating work as an interruption to prayer, he gradually learned to make work part of prayer. Before beginning a responsibility, he would turn his attention toward God and ask for help. While working, he would return to that awareness whenever he remembered. After completing the task, he would give thanks and consider honestly how he had performed it. For Brother Lawrence, prayer was not restricted to a church, a particular posture, or a fixed collection of words. Formal prayer still had value, but he discovered that he could also speak to God simply and naturally throughout the day. He could ask for strength, admit his limitations, express gratitude, or silently offer the work of his hands. His goal was not to produce a constant stream of religious thoughts. It was to develop a relationship of attention and trust. He wanted to live as though God were genuinely present with him, because he believed that God was. This idea sounds simple, but Brother Lawrence did not claim that it was immediately easy. In the beginning, his thoughts wandered repeatedly. He became distracted. He forgot what he was trying to practice. At times he struggled with guilt and uncertainty about his spiritual condition. His response to distraction is one of the most helpful lessons in the book. When he noticed that his mind had wandered, he did not turn the moment into a dramatic failure. He returned. When he forgot, he began again. When he recognized a mistake, he admitted it, asked for help, and continued with his responsibilities. This gentle return was not carelessness. It was an expression of trust. Brother Lawrence understood that endless self-condemnation could become another form of self-absorption. If all his attention remained fixed on his failure, it could not return to God. Humility meant acknowledging the truth without pretending that he could transform himself through anxiety. The practice can therefore be described in a few simple movements. Remember that God is present. Offer the action you are about to perform. Ask for help in doing it well and with love. When your attention wanders, return without despair. When the work is complete, give thanks. These movements can take only a few seconds. They do not require a special emotional experience. A person might pause before opening a laptop, beginning a difficult conversation, preparing a meal, entering a meeting, or caring for a family member. The external activity remains the same, but its inner direction changes. Brother Lawrence believed that the value of an action was not determined by how impressive it appeared. A small task completed with love could have profound spiritual significance. Public recognition was unnecessary. What mattered was the intention with which the action was offered. This teaching challenges the common desire to divide life into important and unimportant moments. We often imagine that meaning is found in rare achievements, dramatic decisions, or visible acts of service. Routine responsibilities can feel like empty spaces between the moments that truly matter. Brother Lawrence proposed something different. The ordinary moment is not an obstacle to spiritual life. It is where spiritual life occurs. Cleaning a room can become an act of service. Preparing food can become an expression of care. Listening patiently can become an act of love. Completing an unnoticed responsibility can become an offering. The task does not need to become glamorous. Its meaning comes from the presence, honesty, and love brought to it. This did not mean that Brother Lawrence performed every task perfectly. His teaching depended on recognizing human limitation. He frequently asked God for the ability to do what he could not accomplish by his own strength. When things went well, he gave thanks. When they went badly, he acknowledged his need and tried again. There is an important balance here. Trusting God did not mean refusing responsibility. Brother Lawrence still had to organize the kitchen, complete practical work, and respond to the needs of the community. His spiritual practice was not an excuse to become passive. It was a way of carrying responsibility without believing that everything depended entirely upon him. Many people today live with the opposite assumption. We mentally rehearse every possible problem. We carry tomorrow's responsibilities before tomorrow arrives. We believe that constant worry proves we are serious and responsible. Yet worry often consumes the attention needed for the task directly in front of us. Brother Lawrence's approach was to address the present responsibility and entrust the outcome to God. He prepared, acted, and asked for guidance, but tried not to build his inner life around fear. This is not a promise that events will always unfold as we prefer. It is a decision about where to place our trust while events unfold. The book also describes a growing unity between prayer and action. At first, Brother Lawrence deliberately reminded himself to return to God's presence. Over time, the practice became more natural. The monastery kitchen and the appointed time of prayer no longer felt like completely separate worlds. This does not mean that every moment became emotionally intense. The presence of God was not merely a feeling that had to be produced. Feelings change with health, fatigue, stress, and circumstance. Brother Lawrence grounded his practice in faith rather than in the constant pursuit of spiritual emotion. Some days may feel peaceful. Other days may feel dry, distracted, or difficult. The practice remains the same. Offer the present moment, act with love, and return when attention wanders. This distinction is especially important for modern audiences. We are often encouraged to judge an activity by how it makes us feel. If prayer does not immediately produce peace, we assume it is not working. If a new habit becomes difficult, we assume we have chosen the wrong method. Brother Lawrence's experience suggests that depth develops through faithfulness. A practice becomes part of a person through repetition. The purpose is not to force a particular feeling, but to cultivate a steady orientation toward God. His teaching can be compared with mindfulness because both involve returning attention to the present. However, they are not identical. Brother Lawrence was not simply observing the present moment or calming his thoughts. His practice was explicitly relational and Christian. He believed he was turning toward a personal God whom he loved and trusted. The point was not awareness for its own sake. It was communion. He wanted every activity to be shaped by love for God and, through that love, by greater patience and service toward other people. This gives the practice an ethical dimension. If someone claims to be aware of God but becomes increasingly impatient, dishonest, proud, or indifferent, something is missing. For Brother Lawrence, awareness of God should gradually affect the way a person works, responds to failure, and treats those around them. His life in the kitchen provides a useful test. Spirituality was not measured only by what he experienced in solitude. It was expressed in whether he could serve a busy community with steadiness and care. The ordinary demands of other people revealed whether his devotion was becoming practical. Another major theme is simplicity. Brother Lawrence had encountered different spiritual methods, but he worried that too many methods could become confusing. He chose a direct path, give himself to God, and try to do everything for God's love. Simplicity does not mean that theology, tradition, or disciplined prayer have no value. It means that methods should serve the central purpose rather than replace it. A person can become so concerned with performing a spiritual practice correctly that the practice becomes another source of anxiety. Brother Lawrence continually returned to the heart of the matter: faith, hope, and love. Techniques were useful only when they helped him move toward that end. His approach to mistakes also followed this simplicity. When he failed, he confessed the failure without constructing elaborate excuses. Then he resumed his practice. He did not expect surprise at his own weakness to become the center of his spiritual life. This lesson can be applied beyond explicitly religious failure. Consider someone trying to become more patient. They lose their temper and immediately decide that they are incapable of change. Their discouragement then makes another failure more likely. Brother Lawrence would encourage a different response. Recognize what happened. Accept responsibility. Ask for forgiveness where necessary. Seek God's help. Then return to the next opportunity to practice patience. Beginning again is not evidence that the practice has failed. Beginning again is the practice. The same principle applies to attention. A person may decide to remember God throughout the day and then realize at night that they forgot for several hours. The useful response is not to declare the entire day wasted. It is to return at the moment of remembering. That moment is available now, regardless of what happened earlier. Brother Lawrence also lived with physical suffering. His spiritual peace should not be presented as the result of an easy life. Pain and limitation remained part of his experience. His teaching does not deny suffering or claim that faith automatically removes it. Instead, he sought a stable relationship with God within suffering. He tried to receive both consolation and difficulty, without allowing either to determine the entire meaning of his life. This kind of surrender is demanding. It is not indifference to pain, but trust that pain does not place a person beyond God's presence. For someone facing illness or uncertainty, this teaching should be applied compassionately. It should never be used to suggest that suffering results from insufficient faith. Brother Lawrence's example is an invitation to seek companionship with God in difficulty, not a reason to judge those who are struggling. What might this practice look like in a modern day? In the morning, before reaching for a phone, take a brief moment to acknowledge God's presence. No long speech is required. Offer the coming day, including the parts you expect to enjoy and the responsibilities you would rather avoid. Before beginning work, pause again. Ask for the ability to work honestly, patiently, and attentively. Instead of trying to feel especially spiritual, begin the task in front of you. When an interruption arrives, notice your reaction. The interruption may still be inconvenient, but it can become an opportunity to practice patience. Return inwardly to God before responding. During a routine activity, such as making tea, walking to another room, or washing your hands, use the moment as a reminder. These repeated activities can become natural signals for returning attention. When you make a mistake, avoid both denial and despair. Admit it plainly. Correct what can be corrected. Ask for help and continue. At the end of the day, look back with gratitude. Notice moments of grace, moments of distraction, and opportunities to begin again tomorrow. The purpose is honest reflection, not a trial in which you act as both prosecutor and defendant. A simple 7-day experiment can help make the teaching practical. On the first day, choose one daily activity as your reminder of God's presence. On the second day, offer one difficult responsibility before beginning it. On the third day, practice returning without self-criticism whenever you become distracted. On the fourth day, complete one small, unnoticed act of service with care. On the fifth day, bring one worry into prayer, then focus on the action that is possible today. On the sixth day, notice how awareness of God affects the way you speak to another person. On the seventh day, review the week and identify what helped you remember, what made the practice difficult, and where you experienced greater peace or patience. This experiment is not a formula for instant transformation. It is an introduction to a habit that Brother Lawrence developed over many years. There are also misunderstandings to avoid. Practicing the presence of God does not mean neglecting rest, professional help, medical care, or practical planning. It does not require suppressing every difficult emotion. It does not mean pretending that injustice or suffering is acceptable. The practice concerns the inner orientation with which a person meets reality. It asks whether fear, ego, resentment, or love will shape the next response. It encourages action rooted in trust rather than paralysis rooted in anxiety. Brother Lawrence's message has endured because it speaks to a problem that remains familiar. Many people want a deeper spiritual life, but believe they do not have enough time. They imagine that spiritual depth belongs to people who can withdraw from ordinary responsibilities. Brother Lawrence found his path in a kitchen. His example suggests that the life we already have can become the place where attention, love, and faith are cultivated. We may still need silence, study, worship, and rest, but we do not need to wait for perfect conditions before beginning. The next task can become an offering. The next interruption can become an invitation to return. The next mistake can become an opportunity for humility. The next ordinary moment can become a place of prayer. The practice of the presence of God is therefore less about mastering a technique and more about developing a relationship. Its central question is not, how can I feel spiritual all the time? The question is, how can I live this moment with God? Brother Lawrence answered through attention, simplicity, trust, and repeated return. He did not escape ordinary life. He allowed ordinary life to become the setting of his devotion. His message can be summarized in this way. Begin where you are. Offer what you are doing. Do small things with love. Ask for help when you feel weak. Do not be surprised when your attention wanders. Return without despair. Give thanks and begin again. More than 3 centuries later, this remains a quiet but demanding invitation. We do not have to divide life between sacred moments and everything else. In the middle of work, noise, limitation, and uncertainty, we can learn to remember that we are not alone. For Brother Lawrence, the path to peace was not found by leaving the ordinary world behind. It was found by recognizing God's presence within it. And the practice begins now, in the moment directly in front of us.